So today we want to look at the input and output redirection. Alright, so as we've seen, many commands such as ls print their output on the display. Whenever we use the ls command, we always see the output on the display. So by using some special notation, we can redirect the output of some commands to be in maybe in another command. So that's just what we want to look at now in terms of bringing out, so for example, an output and placing the output to run inside maybe another command, something like that, or inside a file itself. All right, and also even um, bringing out the file to run outside in our screen, kind of like an input to an output into another file. So that's just what redirection. I tend to redirect it to another place. So we'll be looking at standard input and standard output by default. So let's start with the standard outputs now. So by default, standard output directs its contents to the display. Just like we always know, our ls is always directed to the display. That's how we can see it like this. Okay. So standard output is directs to its contents to the display to redirect standard outputs to a file. So instead of us seeing it now, instead of us seeing it in this our display, we can redirect this results, this list here, to enter inside the file. So to do that, we're just going to say ls the greater than sign, then put the file name. You can choose to first create the empty file first for yourself, or you can just put the file name and integrate it by itself at the same time. So I have not created the file, so to create by itself here, which is file underscore text. Okay, so if I hit enter now, the ls, this output of the ls will enter inside this file. So now let's do cat first. Let's check if this file is here. You can see the file is here, file underscore text.txt. You can give it any name just so you know. It's not save it by force, you must end it with .txt. You can just even remove the .txt and just give it any name, just the way you've been doing all your files. So no special thing has occurred here. So now let's view the file to be sure that the results entered inside that file. So you can see these are the results, which is the same output we are seeing here in our screen, but this time around we redirect the output inside a file. So it is inside the file now like this. In short, let me do emacs. Let's enter the file to see it again. Let me not use the cat command. So you can see our file. So that's it there. Also, we can rewrite the file again, like we can update what is inside the content of the file. So let's see, for example, now if I do not something like ls dash l, you know dash l means a long list. So if I redirect this output, instead of it straight to the screen, let it redirect into that same file. Now, since I'm using the same greater than sign, it will update what is inside here. So instead of this initial content that is inside the file, it will change to this particular new content which I'm redirecting inside the file. So let me click enter, save. I feel cat file. Let's view the text here. So you can see that's what is inside the file. So that's how to redirect stuff. Now you can also append. So append means instead of us rewriting the content or updating the content, we can choose to add more content under it. Okay. So since we know our ls shows this, so let me do, and we know our cat's file is already this particular stuff here. So instead of me updating the file, I can add more inside the file. So I will say ls. Now this time I'll use two greater than sign. So to append it below. So two greater than sign, and I'll put the name of the file. Now let's do cat file text and see what is inside the file. So you can see we have the initial one here and we have appended the other one under it. So instead of it updating, it didn't update, it appends. So you want to append, you have to use this double greater than sign to append, to put under. All right. So that's just what this is all about. Let me see if I missed anything in the, so if the file, okay, we've talked about that. So now let's go to the standard inputs. So now let's look at the standard input aspects So by default, standard inputs get its content from the keyboard. So just as we've been typing stuff in our keyboard and it is displaying in our screen. So our keyboard is actually a standard input command. So whatever we type is what is displaying in the screen. Alright. So now we can choose to then redirect our standard inputs from inside a file, just as if something which is already inside a file, imputing it kind of as if making the file look as if it's a keyboard. Okay, so we can redirect standard input from a file instead of a keyboard using that less than sign. So that's what we are talking about now in terms of the standard inputs. So let's just see an example of how this is done. So if I say sort less than sign, then the name of that my file there, which I've already created the other time. Now you can see it's bringing out the content that is inside that my file text. And also you can choose to remove the less than sign. If I just say sort file text, you can see it's still the same thing. Now all this is what came about the aspect of using the cat command. So for example, cat less than sign. So this will print out whatever content that is inside the file into our screen instead of us doing it directly with our keyboard, so something like that. So you can see. But if you notice, we usually don't put the less than sign whenever we're using the cat because it's not really important. So that's just so you know that all these cat commands we'll be doing is a standard input redirection stuff we've been doing since. So that's just the essence of what I want to explain here. So if I say cat file name, enter, you can see same thing, which is what we've seen here. I would like to update this file text. I don't like this stuff I'm seeing on that. Let's just be only this first part. So I will just, so what will I do to get that done? I'll say ls-l. Now use a single arrow sign so that it will overwrite it. So file text name. Okay, good. So let me check again. File text. Okay, I think that is okay like this. Alright, so I think that is that about standard inputs. Okay, so the less than sign can be ignored. So that's what I wrote here. So the sort command seems to work like the cat command. Also, the above command still works with or without the less than sign. So just keep that at the back of your mind, all right? And also we can redirect that standard input back to our output. So let me just show you something now. You can redirect it inside a file rather. Like instead of like our standard inputs now, I want it to enter, which we are getting from a file. I want it to enter inside another file, so something like that. So like for example now, if when I do something like sort, which one, let me use cat. So cat less than sign file text. You know this stuff now will print out whatever is inside that our file text, the content that is inside our file text. So instead of it printing out in the screen, I don't want it to print out in the screen. I want to redirect whatever it will print out inside another file. So let me just name this other file. Um, Cats. I can give it any name just so you know. By the way, cat means concatenate. Okay. File list txt. Can see nothing come out, nothing bring, no list at all come out in our screen. Everything was redirected inside this new file that I created, which is this cat file list. So let's check if that cat file list is here. It should be here. So it is there. Let's view it now. So cats file list. Oh, sorry, I forgot to even put the cats to at the back. So cat file dot txt. So you can see that's the same output we are going to get even when we just ls our normal file dot text, which will come out in the screen. So ls-l rather, cat file text. .txt. So comparing the two results, you can see they're still the same thing. So this first case, instead of it printing is on the screen, instead of us doing cuts and this printing it out in the screen, we redirect it, instead of it printing here, let it print inside a new file. So that was what we did. And that new file, we name that new file as cat file list. Just like I said the other time, you can choose to remove the less than sign. Okay, so just like, let me just do it again. Let's When we do something like cat using the same file text .txt. So instead of us putting, not the initially that first time I put that less than sign here, then I said it will then redirect our answer. Instead of it, for example, if I click enter now, you can see it is printing in the screen. So now I don't want it to print in the screen, I want it to print inside a new file. So file text.txt, I can redirect the whole printout to enter inside a new file. So let me give that new file a name. Let me just give it new file. So to enter inside that new file, so just what I wanted to say, we can choose to remove this less than sign as usual and to still work fine. So if I click enter now, you can see nothing prints in our screen. But then let's check what is inside our new file that we've created. It should be what is inside the file text content. You can see. So that's just all I'm just trying to explain here in this regard. Now lastly, let's look at this aspect of pipelines and filters. So looking at pipelines and filters, pipelines, I think we've talked about pipes before in our previous video. So just like placing something inside another stuff. All right, so that is just simply what it means. So the most useful and powerful thing we can do with input and output redirection is to connect multiple commands together to form what is called pipelines. So with pipelines, the standard output of one command is fed into the standard input of another. So let's see a quick example again. Let me clear this. So if we have okay, let me something like ls-l. So now what we want to do in here now, I want to, instead of it to print in this format in my screen, I want to use the pipe to place the output to be in another command. Less is another command, just so you know. So there's less command. I think we've talked about that less command in the previous video. So I want to pipe whatever output this ls-l will give me inside the less. So to list inside this less, for me to exit, less command is usually used for a long text. You want to view a very long text in your terminal anyways. So that's just how it is. So I can click the Q to quit this to go back to my terminal. So there are other several ways to use the pipe, not just only with less. So you can use it in any way you choose to want to use it. Okay, so we're still going to see more examples of how to use it in different ways though. Like for example, now let me show you some of the examples, and that's where filter will come into play. So examples of filters are all these cats, all these sorts, head, and the likes. So let me just explain what those stuff are saying though. Like now, if I do ls-l here and I put this pipe and I write head on its own is a command. So what head does is to show the first 10 contents in a file. So you can see, so to show the first 10 content like this in a file. There's another one called ls, so you can see it's actually filtering the whole file. They're kind of like manipulating it, showing a specific region of what I really want to see alone. So there's also another command that's ls-l. There's also another command called tail. So tail is just like the head, but the tail is the bottom, so to show the last 10 parts of the file. So you can see this is the last 10 parts. This is text capital 30, which is this here. So if you look at two files, you can see this started from the beginning, this one is from the bottom. So last 10. So that's just how to pipe one thing to another command. All right, and also just to add to this, you can also selectively set the number of your head and the number of your tail. Okay, so to set it yourself, so I can say ls-l, and if you want it to list, remember I said by default head lists the first 10, so you want it to list this particular number, so I have to say the first five contents in the file. So what I'll just I'll add an option which you can call a flag, then I'll put the specification. So since I want it to show first 5, so if it's first 5 you want it to show, you have to put 6. If it's first four you want it to show, you have to put 5. Okay, so I'll click enter. You can see it's showing me the first 5 here. So that's just how to go about that. Same way applies to the tail, using the tail. All right, so just so you know, um let me check my notes if there is any other thing I'm missing. So one kind of program frequently used in pipelines are called filter. Filters take standard input and perform an operation upon it and send the results to standard outputs, which we've been seeing here. So to send the results in standard output in regards to what you want to filter. So there are several commands. You can see we have the head, we have the tail, we have the sort, we have the cat. You can learn more about each of these commands, each of this stuff by just simply writing the manual. So man head, checking the man page of each of them. So man head will show you what head does. You can see it outputs the first part of the file. So that's what the head command does. So you can check each of them. We have man page cat. That's the cat we've been doing, the concatenate. So it means concatenate file and brings it to the standard output. All right. So just so you know, cat is different from sort. Though most of them list it, but I think sort arrange it in a way in itself. So if you can put dash d, it arrange it in a dictionary other way. All right. So it's just like putting an options in terms of modifying what the, just like attributes, modifying what the sort command can do. Okay, how you want it to list it in the format you wish to want it to list with. So that's just all about that. So there are different flags you can check about to learn more about each of these flags whenever you feel any of them is necessary for you. So I think that's it about that. Let me just quit this part. So we have more command. We have the FMT. FMT is just for talking about formatted text. So it helps in formatting our text. So let's just see how that FMT looks like. So if I say FMT file text, so look at how its own output looks like. So that's just it. Every command has its own unique way. So I have another one that is called a command called unique file text. So this one doesn't really do much, but just make your file look unique. So as in to the extent that we can't even see which of them is a directory. Like there's no unique colors here. On a norms, if we do something like dash, something like let's list what is inside this file again. We should see some kind of like colors in a way. That's ls dash l. So this one will usually let us know when there's a directory, when there's no directory. So I really don't see much need of using that unique anyway. So I'm just letting you know that you can learn more about stuff by using the man pages to learn about each of them. So that's how to learn more about commands. And lastly, let me just talk about, or before I even talk about that, let me show you something. I know we've always been doing ls to list all our files and all our directories. So there's also another command to list only directories, so which is du. So you can see the du will list only the directories alone like this. So that's just another command you just need to be aware of also. So now let me go to the last part of my notes. We talked about Linux provides a program. Linux provides a program LPR. So LPR is actually a command on its own also. So that accepts standard inputs and send it to the printer. So since we are not actually using Linux operating system, we may not really get to feel the impact of that LPR. But if you are running on Linux, you can test it yourself and see if it will go to your printer's um, option in your laptop to see if you want to print out something. Okay, so it's just for printing out stuff into the printer. So but we can still attempt this file here and I will explain how each of the pipes work. So let's see how this will play out, but I will stop at this PR in particular. I think PR itself, let's see the command page of PR. It's just like a format of preparing the text, the contents on how you want it to print. So PR converts text file for printing. So it's converted in a way that to look printable, kind of like putting an heading, a time, sorts like that, like it sorts it out in a way to make it look fit for printing. So that's what the print our command does. So let's do that. So I will say, and which example do I want to use again? Okay, so I will say cat file text So now I want to type it. I think that's too far. So I want to whatever cat file text will bring out for me in the screen. I want it to move inside this sort command. So it will sort it for me. Okay, so it will print out in a sorted format, not in a concatenate format anymore. That's what it means. So once it has printed out in the sort command, in the sort format, then I want the sort format to be in a unique format also. So I will write the unique there. You understand? So after I've made it unique, then I want the file to look printable, to set it in a printable format before actually printing it, which won't print itself because I'm not working in Linux system. So I'll just stop here. So to help me set the command in a printable look format, let me just go up. It's actually there. So you can see page one to make it to arrange it in the form of like in pages format, time, the dates, want to print. So I mean, they are more like heading and everything to set everything well for you and to print it out for you like a document or whatever to take it to your Linux operating system and your printer. So, but since I'm not working with Linux, this is a virtual Ubuntu system. So that's why we can really particularize the LPR, just so you know. So just understand the essence of this pipe and how each of the processes works in this pipe. All right. So that's just it about that. So let me see. I don't think there's any okay. There's nothing much to say. So that's just a summary of what this IO redirection is doing. All right, just so you understand. So probably I will create one more lectures just for us to test some basic questions as regards to this, so you can understand how to flex around, how play around it. So I hope you understand this content very well.